Many people believe that blocked or narrowed blood vessels develop suddenly. A heart attack, a stroke, or suddenly appearing circulatory problems seem like unexpected events. Yet this perception is misleading. In reality, vascular narrowing often begins years, sometimes decades earlier, quietly, gradually, and almost unnoticed. This is exactly where the problem lies. When symptoms appear, the process is usually already well advanced. What most people do not realize is that blood vessels do not become blocked from one day to the next. They slowly lose their elasticity, inflammatory processes increase, deposits alter the vessel walls, and blood flow becomes progressively restricted. This process unfolds for a long time without clear warning signs. Fatigue, cold hands or feet, declining physical resilience, or concentration problems are rarely associated with the blood vessels. Yet they are often early indicators. At this point, it becomes clear why simple, everyday combinations such as garlic and lemon are medically interesting. Not because they act spectacularly or dissolve existing blockages, but because they may influence processes involved in the development of vascular problems. This is not about quick effects, but about long-term support of vascular function. Garlic has been valued for centuries in many cultures. Its reputation as a heart remedy is no coincidence. Garlic contains sulfur compounds that are associated with vascular function. These substances may influence processes related to inflammation, blood flow, and vascular tone. What matters here is not a short-term effect, but consistent action over longer periods of time. Lemon complements this approach in a different way. It provides organic acids and secondary plant compounds that may influence metabolism and the vascular environment. In addition, it can contribute to reducing oxidative processes that play a role in damage to vessel walls. Here as well, this is not an acute intervention, but a supportive measure within a long-term concept. The combination of garlic and lemon is therefore interesting because it addresses different mechanisms. While garlic primarily affects vascular tone and inflammatory processes, lemon supports the stability of the internal environment. Together, they may help create conditions under which blood vessels remain flexible and permeable for longer. This very flexibility is crucial for healthy circulation. A common mistake is equating vascular health exclusively with cholesterol levels. While blood lipids do play a role, they are only one part of the overall picture. Inflammatory status, vascular elasticity, oxidative stress, and endothelial function are at least equally important. Those who focus solely on a single laboratory value often overlook the actual causes of vascular narrowing. I am Dr. Angelina Stone. In my work, I repeatedly encounter people who are surprised when circulatory problems occur. Yet upon closer examination, signs of declining vascular function often appear long beforehand. Many of these signs are ignored because they seem nonspecific. This is precisely where the opportunity for early support lies. Another central aspect is the role of chronic low-grade inflammation. These inflammatory processes attack vessel walls, alter their structure, and promote deposits over time. Garlic is associated with modulation of such processes. Lemon may complement this effect by influencing oxidative balance. What is crucial, however, is that these effects only become relevant when used regularly and over the long term. Many people make the mistake of expecting a noticeable, rapid effect from natural combinations. When this does not occur, they are dismissed as ineffective. But blood vessels do not respond like a switch. They adapt slowly. Improvements in elasticity, circulation, and the inner vessel lining require time. Those who understand this biological rhythm evaluate measures more realistically. Garlic and lemon are not a therapy and not a replacement for medical evaluation. They cannot simply open existing narrowings. However, they can be part of a preventive approach aimed at keeping blood vessels functional for longer. Their value lies in support, not in a quick fix. Many people underestimate how quietly vascular problems develop. The heart often signals issues only late, and the brain reacts only when circulation is already significantly impaired. Prevention, therefore, does not manifest as a sensation, but as the absence of events. This is precisely why it is so often neglected. Stay with me. In the next section, I will explain why this combination shows no noticeable effect for many people and which typical mistakes undermine its potential benefits. If you are looking for medical content without myths, exaggerations, or false promises, subscribe to this channel. Knowledge is the first step toward consciously influencing vascular health before problems become visible. Many people begin using garlic and lemon with the hope of actively protecting their blood vessels and then, after some time, are disappointed to find that they notice no tangible change. At this exact point, the combination is often labeled as ineffective. Yet in most cases, the problem does not lie in garlic or lemon themselves, but in expectations, application, and a fundamental misunderstanding of how blood vessels actually respond. The most common mistake is the expectation of a rapid effect. People unconsciously compare natural approaches with medications. When no immediate improvement occurs, they assume that nothing is happening. But blood vessels do not respond acutely. Vascular elasticity, endothelial function, and circulation change gradually over long periods of time. Anyone who judges after just a few days or weeks is not evaluating failure, but merely a biologically far too short process. Another central misconception is isolated application. Garlic and lemon are consumed while other burdening factors remain unchanged. Lack of physical activity, chronic stress, sleep deficits, smoking, or a highly processed diet continue to affect the vessel walls. In such an environment, no single measure can fully unfold its potential benefits. Blood vessels always respond to the overall picture, not to a single impulse. The form of application also plays a decisive role. Garlic is often consumed in highly processed forms or used only occasionally. Lemon is applied irregularly or taken in minimal amounts. As a result, the intake of bioactive substances remains inconsistent. Blood vessels, however, require constant signals in order to adapt. Sporadic stimuli do not lead to stable changes. Another point that is frequently overlooked is the inflammatory background. Chronic low-grade inflammation continuously attacks the vessel walls. It promotes deposits, reduces elasticity, and impairs the inner vessel surface. Garlic is associated with modulation of such processes, but its effect can only take hold when inflammation-promoting factors are reduced at the same time. Anyone who does not adjust lifestyle habits neutralizes a large part of the potential effect. Many people also underestimate the role of the endothelium. This thin cell layer lines the inside of blood vessels and plays a crucial role in how flexibly vessels respond. When the endothelium is damaged, vessels remain rigid and respond poorly to circulation signals. Improvements in endothelial function require time, repetition, and stable conditions. Garlic and lemon may provide supportive effects, but they cannot compensate for existing damage in the short term. Another common mistake is misinterpreting the absence of symptoms. Many expect a clear feeling, a noticeable sign of better circulation. Yet vascular improvements rarely manifest directly. They appear indirectly: more stable endurance, less rapid fatigue, more even energy levels, or improved tolerance to cold. Anyone who waits exclusively for a single symptom overlooks these subtle changes. In my work, I repeatedly see people prematurely dismiss natural approaches because they assign them the wrong role. Garlic and lemon are not an emergency solution and not a replacement for medical therapy. Their value lies in long-term supportive processes that can keep blood vessels stable. Those who view them as a short-term tool will inevitably be disappointed. Another decisive aspect is the duration of vascular damage. Many people begin preventive measures only when processes have already been underway for years. At this stage, changes are harder to perceive and require more time. This does not mean that support is pointless, but that expectations must be adjusted. Blood vessels do not forget. They respond to what happens over long periods of time. Many give up at this point. They constantly change their strategy, try new remedies, and thereby prevent any form of long-term adaptation. Yet this very continuity is crucial. Blood vessels respond to repetition, not to variety. Those who remain consistent create the foundation for real change. In the next section, I will explain what a sensible, long-term approach to protecting blood vessels looks like in practice and which habits make the greatest difference. This is where it is decided whether knowledge remains theoretical or actually leads to stable vascular health. Stay with me. If you are looking for medical content without myths, exaggerations, or false promises, subscribe to this channel. Knowledge is the first step toward consciously protecting blood vessels long before serious problems arise. In the end, many people face a decisive question. If garlic and lemon do not show a quick effect and do not produce an immediately noticeable change, what truly determines whether blood vessels remain open and functional in the long term? The answer does not lie in individual foods or short-term measures, but in an interaction of habits, internal environment, and biological adaptation. It is precisely this interaction that is often underestimated. Blood vessels are dynamic structures. They continuously respond to what happens within the body. Inflammatory processes, oxidative burden, blood pressure fluctuations, and metabolic changes influence their function day after day. Vascular narrowing does not arise from a single event, but from years of stimuli that gradually reduce the elasticity of vessel walls. Those who understand this process recognize why long-term protection can only work through long-term strategies. A central factor is inflammatory balance. Chronic low-grade inflammation acts like a constant attack on the inner walls of blood vessels. It promotes deposits, alters the structure of the endothelium, and reduces the vessel's ability to adapt flexibly. Garlic and lemon may provide supportive effects in this context because they influence processes related to inflammatory regulation and oxidative balance. However, these effects unfold only when they are part of a sustained pattern. Equally decisive is the role of metabolism. Blood sugar fluctuations, insulin resistance, and lipid metabolism disorders place a significant burden on blood vessels. They alter vascular reactivity and promote structural changes in vessel walls. Natural combinations cannot stop this process in isolation. They are only meaningful when embedded in an overall concept that stabilizes metabolism over the long term. A frequently overlooked aspect is the importance of the nervous system. Chronic stress leads to persistent activation of the sympathetic nervous system. The result is increased vascular tension, reduced circulation, and diminished regenerative capacity of vessel walls. Even the best nutrition cannot compensate for this effect if stress is consistently ignored. Vascular health is therefore always also a matter of inner calm and the ability to regulate. Movement plays a key role in this context. Regular, moderate physical activity improves circulation, promotes vascular elasticity, and has anti-inflammatory effects. This is not about peak performance, but about consistency. Blood vessels respond positively to regular impulses, not to rare extreme exertion. This continuity is a decisive difference between short-term effects and sustainable adaptation. Sleep must not be underestimated either. During sleep, important repair and regeneration processes take place. Inflammation can subside, oxidative stress is reduced, and hormonal regulatory cycles stabilize. Chronic sleep deprivation has a direct negative impact on vascular function. Anyone who ignores this factor weakens every other measure, regardless of how sensible it may appear. Many people expect vascular protection to produce a noticeable change. They look for a clear sign, a feeling of better circulation. Yet vascular health rarely manifests directly. It shows itself indirectly, through stable performance, even energy levels, reduced sensitivity to cold, or the absence of acute events. It is precisely this invisibility that makes prevention so difficult to grasp. I am Dr. Angelina Stone. In my work, I repeatedly see that people benefit the most when they change their expectations. Those who understand that vascular protection is a long-term process make different daily decisions. They no longer search for the one quick solution, but for stability. This is exactly where real control over one's own health begins. Another decisive point is consistency. The body responds to repetition. Inflammatory regulation, vascular elasticity, and metabolic adaptation arise through continuous stimuli. Those who constantly change their strategy interrupt this process. Those who remain consistent, however, create the conditions that allow blood vessels to adapt. Long-term vascular protection does not mean ignoring risks or suppressing symptoms. It means creating conditions under which blood vessels can maintain their function for as long as possible. Garlic and lemon are not a cure-all, but they can be a meaningful component of a broader concept. Their value lies in supporting biological processes, not in providing a quick solution. The decisive shift in perspective is therefore this: moving away from the question, what helps immediately, toward what keeps my blood vessels stable over many years? This shift changes daily behavior, reduces frustration, and fosters patience. It is precisely this patience that ultimately makes the difference. If you are looking for medical content without myths, exaggerations, or false promises, subscribe to this channel. Knowledge alone changes nothing, but it is the foundation of every conscious decision, especially when it comes to long-term vascular health.